important announcement here at day 3 of the Le Bourget Air Show. Please welcome for this one with me Harald Wilhelm. He is Chief Financial Officer, Airbus and Airbus Group. Lim Sergi, President of ST Aerospace. Tom Williams, Airbus Chief Operating Officer. And Dr. Andreas Sperl, he is CEO of Elbe Flugzeugwerke. Also in the room and witnessing the signature are Tom Enders, CEO of Airbus Group, Peng Hock Tang, President and CEO of ST Engineering, and Dr. Fritz Jekyll, Chief of the State Chancellery of the Free State of Saxony. And without any further ado, Harald, I pass the floor over to you.
Oh, thanks, Stefan. Good morning, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Frankly, I'm not quite sure why I'm sitting here. I'm supposed to sign that, other than that this is a good friendship and partnership with Sergi and ST Engineering, Pen Hock, and the whole team. I think it's good news. What we want to announce here today, the launch of the A320, A321 conversion program in partnership between ST Aerospace, Airbus, and EFW. I think that's good news for all of the owners of the 320 assets now and also in the future. As we all know, any P2F program is good for the residual value evolution. But it's also good news for EFW in terms of the further business opportunities and development. Doing that in partnership with ST Aero is the partner of choice, and based on the very successful cooperation so far on the 330 program. If I might remind you, ST Aerospace launched the STC development of the A330 program some years ago, and via that one went into the shareholding of EFW with a 35%. And as it is a success story, we're repeating that with the 320 program and doing that STC development, therefore will increase also the shareholding of ST Aerospace in EFW to 55%, which means Sergi will take the steering wheel in EFW. Well, we don't have it here, but it doesn't mean that we withdraw here completely. No, Airbus, I think, remains an important partner in EFW at 45% shareholding with important business relationships, certainly on the P2F side. I think there is a good mutual support in terms of commercial perspectives, and certainly there's a very important component business which will carry on. Leadership under your control, Sergi, we agreed to retain, and very good to see my former boss, Andreas Sperl, sitting next to me, carrying on the leadership in EFW with the management team, with a very strong contribution from ST Aerospace and ST Engineering in the management team of EFW. So I think that's pretty much what I wanted to say, and I think now it's time for me to hand over to you, Sergi, to talk probably a bit about, what is the 320 P2F program, what's the market, and what is the product. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, everyone, for taking time to join us at this very important milestone. ST Aerospace has found strong partners in Airbus and EFW when we first launched the A330 passenger-to-freighter program in 2013. 2 years on, we are happy to see good progress for the A330 P2F program, and even happier to extend this relationship with Airbus and EFW today for the A320 P2F development. We have been in the business of passenger-to-freighter conversion for the 20 years for now. Over the years, we have established ourselves as a center of excellence in this area, building up strong engineering capabilities and expertise across multiple aircraft platforms. This new collaboration will extend ST Aerospace conversion portfolio and certainly enhance our value add proposition to the operators globally. The A320P2F and the A321P2F will be excellent workhorse, which would offer aircraft operators great values and efficiency. Harold said that I'll be sharing this. In fact, I learned that Andre and Tom will share with you shortly in detail the unique characteristic of the A320 and A321 P2F programs and what we offer for this solution. Importantly, engineering development for the A320 and A321 passenger to freighter program will start soon. Together with Airbus and EFW, we look forward to availing the first A320 P2F solution that is fully OEM supported, endorsed to the market in 2018. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergei. And John, next.
I think for me, first of all, I'd make the comment with our experience and the relationship that we've built up with ST. It's been relatively, over the last few years, very, very fruitful. I think the working relationship with Sergei and the team has gone extremely well. The involvement of ST, particularly in Elbe Flugzeugwerk, has been a real transformation. And I see Stephen Lowe's with us here in the audience as well. So I think with the work that Stephen's done in Dresden, we've also built up our MRO capability, which has really helped Dresden in terms of the transition between the old A300 work that we did and through into the future. And I think that brings the correct mixture of long-term work, stable workload into Dresden. So that's really worked out well. And I think also the comment I'd make, and perhaps I'll answer a question before it gets asked, which is, so what happened last time, and why did it not work last time? I knew you were going to ask that, Andrea, so I'm just saving time here, you know. The last time, with no disrespect to our Russian partners, we were in the lead on that development. And again, with no disrespect to my guys in engineering, when we were developing that 320 P2F program, if we had gone to the completion of it, it would have been the most wonderful, most beautiful, most performing P2F program that you could ever imagine. Yeah, it would have operated in every corner point of the specification in the marketplace. Sadly, not in one of them, which is, was anyone going to buy this for the amount of money it was going to cost us to make it? So that was really one of the issues we had last time. We had a rather over-designed solution. And certainly for me, there was also combined with the fact at that time, because then I'm talking over 5 years ago, the residual values of 320s were really running against us in terms of finding enough feedstock. So two things have moved on. I think, first of all, the relationship, a very trustful relationship with ST. I think ST bring a very deep knowledge of the P2F market and the technical challenges. And they're going to take the lead in terms of the design and certification, as they have successfully on the 330. We will be in that situation, the junior partners, if you like, but we're providing access to market because we understand pretty well what's happening in the second-hand aircraft market. So we can help on the feedstock side. And we can certainly help on the technical side, and we're providing all the information to ST to enable them to do that. And we will support them through the program. It's really important for us to have a good P2F program because it really helps us in terms of selling new aircraft and managing residual values. And I think the big difference is with ST, they bring a dimension of saying, what's the flyaway price for the aircraft got to be? And therefore, which are the critical aspects of the specification that we have to deliver? And there's some aspects that, and we won't then sell every aircraft in every market, but it's, I think, a pragmatic approach to the development of a P2F aircraft with very much a view of what's the value of this to the customer. So I think we've been very pleased with the relationship with Sergei and his team, and I see that going on in the future. And I think we can do other things together. And I think Harold and the team are looking not just in the commercial side, but in other parts of Airbus Group I think we can have a very fruitful long-term relationship.
Thank
Did
you,
I say
Tom.
too much? It was enough.
Thank
Sorry.
you, Tom. And on the market, Dr. Andreas Sperr has some more interesting information.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank our shareholders, Airbus and ST Aerospace, for the trust and the confidence they put into EFW to launch this program together. This program will reinforce EFW as a center of competence for Airbus freighter conversions, and we are very proud of this, and this is helping us to shape the future of our company. We are very grateful. Thank you very much for this. With the A320, A321, P2F, we are extending the very successful family of Airbus freighters. We are complementing the A330-200F, the A330-200P2F, the A330-300P2F, and now with the 320, 321 P2F, I think we have a real family, and this gives us a big impact in the market. Airbus in forecast foresees a demand in this program for about 600 plus P2F conversions in the range of 10 to 30 tons. And with the A321, we will take also a market share from the segment of from 30 to 40 tons, which is currently being dominated by the Boeing 757 P2Fs. The A321 P2F with its 14 container positions uniquely placed between the B737 and B757. The A321 P2F is an ideal candidate to replace the aging 757 freighters. The A320 P2F with its 11 container positions will compete against the 737-400 and the 737-800, and also complement the A321 P2F for thinner routes, which gives a lot of flexibility to the operators. Talking about the feedstock, this was already mentioned. A rule of thumb says the right age for aircraft conversions is between 15 and 20 years of age, and we call it the conversion window. And I can tell you in the year 2018, which is the year when we want to enter this product into the market, we have more than 550 A320s and almost 200 A321s in that conversion window, with increasing feedstock potential in the upcoming years. So I can tell you, we feel the market is ready for this program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and now let's sign this successful business. And for this one, I ask our witnesses, Tom Enders, Mr. Jekyll, Peng Hock Tan, to come also to the podium. We have a photo opportunity for the photographers.
What are we signing? We have no contract.
Sergey, just sign a blank piece of paper. Yeah, there we go. There we go.
We're doing it on top or what?
Okay.
Andreas? Kan swap det? Ja, gerne. Nej, vi kan gerne bare til inden mal. Ja, jeg vil gerne mal nach Dresden kommen. Ja.
Okay.
The boss is watching you. So. Enjoy. Here we are.
Maybe a handshake picture with the aircraft model.
Okay.
Okay.
Sergey.
Careful.
Okay. Now we're getting a bit.
I think we say seated as well.
Okay.
Getting, okay. So now we can shake hands with the model. Good.
Okay, we also take that.
The angle. Okay.
So now the whole team here.
Okay.
Okay.
Andreas, take that in the middle. So here we are.
Awesome. Lady on your right now. In the middle.
Please, on this side, please. All together. All together.
We move this one this way.
Okay, I think that's good.
This way for me.
Fine.
Okay.
Then let's start the Q&A session, please.
You need to get more efficient with your photos.
Yes. Until
If
then.
you're looking back towards me just at the same time. 1, 2, 3. Great, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So let's start the Q&A. First question goes to David Kaminski from Flight. Can we please get seated? First question to David Kaminski from Flight.
Thanks. Tom, I think, I don't know if my memory serves me correctly, but the original design for the P2F, for the A320, you put the large freight door in the rear of the aircraft. Now it appears to be back in the front.
Yeah.
What's the thinking behind that?
Yeah, you remember, David, on the first one, I think it goes back to my comment about we had designed for every corner point of the specification. So we got into a lot of discussion about loadability. And because of that, we then came to a conclusion, we convinced ourselves that the door had to be in the rear. Now, we then ran into a problem because we were in the area, very close to the sort of section 18, where a lot of heavy loads are taken from the empennage into the fuselage. And all of that load transition, also the whole thing snowballed because the door itself ended up being a load-carrying member to replace the loads that were carried through the frames and stringers of the fuselage. So the whole thing compounded. And now I think with the more pragmatic approach of ST, we've come to the view that we're not going to chase every corner point of the specification. We're not necessarily going to be loading full aircraft engines or massive oil pumps or huge heavy pieces of equipment. This is an aircraft that is designed with a lot of flexibility, but not to chase every corner point of the market. That allows us to come back to the front, which significantly simplifies the aircraft from a structural point of view, and is much preferred by the customers, because of course if you put the door in the rear area at the trailing edge, you then get into a lot of worries about damage, with trucks, etc., trying to access that area because it gets pretty crowded. So I think it's a very good example of the pragmatic approach that we've taken in terms of challenging what part of the market we're going after and making sure we bring real value for money and a spec that is also producible for a decent price.
Next question.
That's enough?
Next question goes to Edison Schoenland from Air Insight.
I believe a question probably for Harold. Is this deal exclusive between Airbus and ST, or will Airbus also support other P2F programs that are bubbling away?
I do believe ST Aerospace is an excellent partner for this one, and I mean we are in partnership on this, and that clearly means that we want to make that work in the partnership we're having together.
And I could maybe add that from my point of view, there is only so much engineering resource and effort to go around. So we're focusing on this one.
Next question goes to Tim Heifer from Reuters.
Hi, thank you. Tom, you mentioned residual values had been an issue last time. Have you tested the sensitivity of the business case of this project against rates of 60 or more a month? Does it still make money? And could you just comment briefly, we've had quite a lot of pushback at this show, especially from some of the engine makers, on whether that would be a wise move. I wondered if you could comment on that. And I had a question for Harold, or perhaps I'd let you answer that first, if I may.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to. It's two questions in one. So I think as usual, Tim, normally it's four questions in one. So this one is. Let me take question one first. Certainly from a residual value point of view, clearly we see the trend going in the good direction, and we've done a lot of modelling with ST and with our own commercial team, focusing on the flyaway price. Clearly we know we've got to figure out a very cost-effective conversion, but we think we come into a sweet spot of the market in terms of timing, and it's as Andreas said, there's enough good airframes because they've got to have enough cycles left in them to make them worth converting, but not be so expensive that it becomes prohibitive. The second part of your question, Tim, I think was probably nothing to do with P2F, but I'll answer it anyway, which is in terms of rates. I confirm, even in a conversation with Dave Joyce yesterday, I don't think any of the engine manufacturers doubt for 1 minute the market requirement. So I use David's words, which were the answer is yes. The only question is when, and we've got to make sure we work out the when fairly carefully, because we're going to spend between us a load of money, and Harold gets unimpressed if I spend a whole bunch of capex and then can't fill it with productive work. So I think we're a little bit into the nuance of wording. I don't think we're into them second guessing, because they know the market and the demand is there.
Tim, we come back to you. Next question is Sebastian Steinke.
Sebastian Steinke from Flugrevue. Question to Mr. Sperl and Mr. Lim, please. Now that ST Aerospace is the majority stakeholder, will the conversions be done exclusively at Dresden in Germany, or might there be other conversion sites? And if I might add, Dresden has already experience with 380 work. Nicely done. Is there any future consideration to maybe convert 380s as the fleet slowly ages, and there might be one day to maybe convert them as well? Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll take the first part.
I'll take the second part.
Yeah, okay. Would that be all right?
Yeah, I'll take the second part.
Okay. We have a facility in Europe, which is now in Dresden. We also have facility in US. We also have facility in Singapore as well as in China. All these facility actually will be tooled up to do the conversion. The 320, 321 are a little bit different from the 330 because the 330 has a longer leg. The 320 have a shorter leg. What I meant is that it's good to have conversion facility where the feedstock are. Okay, so Europe you have a sizable 320 feedstock. The US they have, China and Singapore. So wherever facility of use will actually be depends on the customer preference. Okay, and we will definitely accommodate the customer preference. Yeah.
So what Mr. Lim said, he said is that will have different locations for the conversion, physical conversions, but nevertheless, EFW will be responsible for the industrialization of this program, will be the holder of the STC, and so all the revenues will go through EFW.
Yeah, I'll come to that. So I think for me, two points to make. You made the comment about the MRO activity that we're doing on A380. And I would like to comment there that, as I said earlier, that's been part of the very fruitful relationship. And I think Stephen has certainly brought a different culture and an approach, because we're trying to convert a plant that was a manufacturing factory, which is a certain mindset and way of working, into an MRO, which requires a lot of flexibility and agility, and the workforce have done a good job, I think, in adapting to that. And that's essential in terms of the long-term economics of the facility. For me, then, your second question, I see that more in terms of A380 as an opportunity to grow MRO activity, because the reality is there are not so many places around the world where you can do deep MRO activity on such a big aeroplane, and there's not going to be so many people that are prepared to invest in it. So I see a situation where you'll see some specialists with the physical facility and the skill and knowledge. And I think it's for EFW a great opportunity to grow that business. And Andreas, I know, is extremely, because he always badgers me and chases me to get more A380 work. So he's very passionate on the subject, and I think it's a good combination. To the last part of your question, I don't see a 380 P2F program on the horizon. Now, never say never. And in 10 years' time, could we imagine a situation where residual values of the aircraft would be low enough? But today, it's not a priority. I'm more interested in seeing as if aircraft, as they will do, as they get to be 10, 12 years old. It's more important that we flip them back out into the market with new cabins and in the PAX area.
Next question goes to James Walton.
John Walton, but that's all right.
Oh, sorry.
A question about the airframes you're going to be using for this. It's a several-parted question. How many airframes are today available that would be suitable, roughly? In terms of the different tranches or generations of A320s that are currently flying, how old are the oldest that can be converted? Is there a cut-off there? Yeah. Are there any restrictions on that? And are the aircraft that can be converted sharkletable?
Okay. You want me to take that, or Sergei, you want to take it? I don't mind. I can give you some comment, and then Sergei, who knows more about this than me, will add in the bits that I've missed. Certainly from my point of view, clearly, as you know, when we prepare such a type certificate, you actually have to do it almost aircraft by aircraft. You need to understand what modifications have already been done, major repairs, etc., etc. So that's why, again, the linkage back into Airbus is extremely important, because we can provide a lot more traceability. We can also provide a lot of information about reserve factors in the design, which will allow ST to better optimize. Then to your question about the age, then clearly you do come back to what's the evolution of the maximum takeoff weight. And obviously the very older aeroplanes tend to be the ones that were designed in the days of 64-ton, 66-ton max takeoff weight. And then we've gradually moved into aircraft 72 and above tons. And clearly those later ones are probably the ones that are more attractive from that point of view. Your last part of the question was the sharklets. Yeah, I think the sharklet question is probably some way down the road, because you've got to think that we've only been delivering sharklet-equipped aircraft for the last 18 months, 2 years. They performed very well, but the residual value of those aircraft is quite a way down the road. And also keeping in mind that these aircraft are probably not flying high frequencies, so the economics, while fuel burn will always be important, they're quite often doing one cycle a day and feeding a hub and spoke. So the economics of the fuel burn are not quite so pressing. Sergei?
Yeah, if I may add on to what Tom has said, maybe I'll just start from what they have said. When we start off the design for the, let's say the A321, and we also consider the A320 design. And then once we get the prototype to be certified with the STC, what Tom has said, every aircraft that comes in, we have to do certain amount of adaptive engineering. We are taking into consideration of the repairs, the SB and whatsoever. And moving on, if let's say that there's a need to do a weight upgrade or even the shuttlet, it's possible, and which we have done it for our 757. Okay, we have started off with the aircraft with no winglets, and then we actually add on the certification. So it's not it's doable. It's doable, and I must say that there's advantage for our program with the OEM data and the backing. Okay, A320, A321 is a well-designed aircraft, very optimized aircraft. It's a fly-by-wire aircraft. For someone to do the STC, okay, if they have the data with the backing of the OEM, okay, we will be able to design it and optimize it to the needs of the cargo operator. And this program, I must say, has the Airbus with the OEM backing the data and support. And I believe it will be a very successful program.
Just to follow up on that in terms of the...
Sorry. We have another question here from Andrea Rossman.
Yeah, I had two questions. One, can you describe the actual markets where you see these cargo carriers being used? I remember when the Russian venture was dumped, I was told by some people from Airbus that in the United States market, which would have been considered a big market for this, trucks had become so efficient that trucks had taken over what these planes would be doing. So which geographic markets do you see as the key ones, and what kind of stuff would they be carrying? Mainly letters and light things? And the other question is on Harold, on residual values. Can you tell us, you must have had studies done by some of the value people, what will be the difference between the residual value of a 15-year-old A320, let's say in 2020, now that you have P2F versus what it would have been had you not done P2F?
Maybe I should make a comment on the markets. I mentioned that we foresee only for the A320 a market potential of 600 converters plus. We see a big market in Asia.
600 a year?
No, in total. It would be good.
600 a year would be good.
600 a year.
Would be wonderful. Then we have to extend our capacities quite a bit. No, in total, and we see a big focus in Asia, especially in the Chinese market, as well as in the US. That's why we are planning to establish conversion lines not only in Dresden but also in China and in the US. These are key markets for us, and we are focusing on these markets.
Yeah, if I may add that even in US, you are correct that to a certain extent, some of the freight are being moved on the road. But you do see that the integrator, the express freighter, they are still operating narrow body freighter. Take for example UPS at the 757 production freighter. The FedEx have the ST Aerospace converted freighter. And as what Andre said, in times to come, this will be retired and have to be replaced. And I see that the 321 is a very suitable platform to replace this aging aircraft.
Well, on your residual value question, let's not do, I think, a number counting exercise, but Andreas said before, the bulk of the feedstock sitting around 15 to 20 years, I think that's what you said. That means at that point in time, with the P2F, we offer an interesting alternative in what to do with the asset. At attractive terms, including the conversion price, then for the total ramp up, for the total ramp price, and therefore offering, I think, a win-win situation. For cargo operators on the one side, but also on the other side, for airlines or lessors, disposing the asset at that point in time compared to other options available. And we're convinced of that one, and I'm sure that would also translate then into residual value evolution on the 320 family when it hits the market in 2018 and beyond.
Next question goes to Reuters.
Sorry, it's a question for Harold. You've sold more satellites than planes at this show, which is great for the space market, but is it a sign that the aircraft market is slowing? And does it mean that even if it doesn't change your outlook, that perhaps your book-to-bill would be closer to 1 than to 2 this year? And secondly, could you comment on whether there are any discussions of any kind in progress regarding Sikorsky? Thank you.
This fits very well to 321. Yeah, Tim. I thought you would have forgotten about it, but let me just comment about your first question. I think we feel extremely good about the commercial momentum. We see it on the show. We see the backlog, also the backlog which in many years from now will feed this program here. That's why we are here, and I think that's all I can say. We said that in front of the investor community that morning. You heard it from Fabrice, from everybody. That's all I can say.
Let's focus
here. I'd just one comment to add to that is that if John was here, Timmy would say he needs to have aeroplanes to sell. So if Williams could build them, more of them and quicker, he'd be happy to sell them. But it's hard to sell customers something that they can't get for a very long time.
Sorry, Tim. This is a P2F press conference. We do the other one later. Flight, please.
I may have missed this in all the excitement, but do you have a launch customer for either of these?
Not at this point.
We are today launching this program, so we are not talking to launch customers before we have launched this. And from today on, it's T0. We have the authorization to offer, and we will start discussions with customers who have already indicated their interest.
Next question goes to Aviation Week. Casey Buick. Your question has been asked. Next question goes to Sebastian Steinke, Flugrevue.
It obviously depends on the aircraft you take as a donor, but could you give us an idea how much a price of a perfectly converted P2F Airbus would be? Thank you.
Well, with the solution that we are putting forward to the market, that I believe is with a superior specification. I'm very sure the the prospective customer will find value for money with what we're going to offer.
Next question to Peter Ricketts, Australia.
How long will the aircraft be in the hangar for the P2F work? How long do you think they'll be offline?
For the prototype, we are looking at about 9 months.
I mean, the production.
Production on a steady state, I would say that is not more than 3 months.
And could you just reiterate which workshops you plan to do the conversions at? China, Dresden, and the US?
ST Aerospace has facility in Dresden now, in Singapore, in China, as well as in US.
You'll do it in all your workshops?
Well, like I said, you'll be tailored to the needs and requirements of the customer. Yes, we have certain customer might want to, their feedstock is from Europe, and I think it will be a nice place to convert the aircraft in Dresden. There's no point flying 3 hops, to Singapore. Likewise, if there are customer that in near Singapore, there's meaningless actually to hop 3 hops.
Could I clarify, is there an Airbus facility in Dresden and Singapore Aerospace, or who's in Dresden? Is there one workshop, 2? What?
Yes, the same. One and the same. One and the same.
It's an EFW facility.
Yes.
Is there any other question in the room? If not, I conclude the press conference. Thank you, Sergei. Thank you, Andreas. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Harald. And if you would like, at 1:40 we have the flying display of our A350, followed by the A380. There are more press releases from our side in the pipe, and we are planning the end of show press conference tomorrow at 10:30. That's the plan. If more is coming in,